Hi everyone, I am Nipunika Dilani from Sri Lanka. I am a senior lecturer attached to the Department of English at the Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka. In this video, I am going to talk about how I developed myself as an assessor under the topic of being enlightened on the alternative assessment. A day I felt I am truly playing the role of assessor. My presentation has been organized under three main topics as introduction, findings and the conclusion, which have been subdivided again into subtopics as you see on this slide. I would like to start by introducing why I selected this topic. Despite the massive disastrous nature of COVID-19, in a way, I feel that it was a blessing in disguise for many teachers in their journey of development, especially in relation to online teaching. In my case, I was able to mature myself as an assessor, which is one of the main roles of a language teacher. The university where I teach English also decided to conduct online examinations considering the difficulties of gathering students to physical exam halls during the pandemic. The online examinations conducted at at this university in 2020 included the same traditional paper format via Google Meet. There wasn't any change in most of the exam papers, and the only difference was the mode, that is, instead of physical exams, it was conducted online. The students were advised to do the exam keeping the cameras on, though it didn't happen always as expected due to various excuses given by the students. So, in marking the papers, a higher level of plagiarism was found. Here I with the permission of the university have taken some comments written on the answer scripts by the lecturers. You can see that they have copied from internet and from different sources, from other students, from the notes given by the lecturers and so on. Here you find some more evidences of plagiarism. Uh, that as we all know, normally teachers never write that a student hasn't copied on an answer script. But interestingly, you can see that some lecturers have written so due to the fact that copying was so high and rarely a genuine answer was found. When they found a genuine answer of their own, they wrote them they have written them on the answer scripts. Likewise, the staff agreed that the online exams were ineffective and wasn't a valid means to measure the true skills of the students in the way it was conducted in this institution. Moving to the main body of the presentation, actually I don't wish to present a broad literature review. Rather, I prefer to talk about my enrichment, my narrative of enrichment. Let's have a look at the differences between traditional assessments and the alternative assessments. I have taken this table from Brown 2020, and as he had mentioned in his book, he also has adapted this table from Armstrong 1994 and Bailey 1998. So you can see that according to the characteristics of both types of tests, assessments, that in summary, the alternative assessments provide more advantages to the test takers. It is clear that more skills of the learners other than memory and writing skills could be measured through alternative assessments. However, I have observed, this is my kind of personal observation, that in my context, people have more negative attitudes towards alternative assessments, and it is not very popular too. Based on this table, we can decide that alternative assessments are a true or in a way a better alternative for traditional tests of the nature that I explained before. Fortunately, after having many discussions, the university authority allowed the lecturers to decide on the paper format and the type of the assessment that we would like to give for the students. These are the alternative methods that I followed for my students: immediate recall protocol, analysis of a paragraph, viva, micro teaching, writing the teaching philosophy, and creating a web blog on second language learning and teaching are some of the alternative methods that I used for testing. So this is a document adapted from from the Senate approval for the above assessments. So these are some of the paragraphs that I used for paragraph analysis. This is a text that I used for immediate recall protocol. So here you can see a screenshot of a mini teaching done by one of my students. Again, you can see here a screenshot of a presentation of the teaching philosophy by a student. These are some links for blogs created by my students as their alternative assessment methods. These are the data collection instruments I have employed for this study. Being a teacher for more than 11 years now, I used my retrospection in understanding the students' behavior as well as the maturity process I underwent. In addition to that, I had informal discussions with the students after they took the test, just to know whether they enjoyed the test and just to know their perception on these type of tests. Further, I did two separate studies on web blogging and immediate recall protocol, one of which has been already published and the other also has been accepted for an international conference. The questionnaire data I collected for these two studies have been used as evidence for this study as well. In addition to them, the marks the students have gained for these assessments, for these tests, also helped to get an idea about their involvement in these types of testing. So the data collected from the above instruments were coded and categorized. Thus, the findings are presented here are under the themes derived from them. The first theme I identified is stress-free. That is, the students have claimed that the alternative assessments I used made them relax. They have mentioned that they didn't have normal stress mentality in completing these test or the assessments as they had experienced previously in traditional tests. Here I have mentioned some responses. You can see them here in the slide. I have mentioned some responses that the students have given in relation to webblogging and the immediate recall protocol. Unlike the traditional exams, which were real-time, time-bound, formal, and as a result like stressful, these tests have been claimed to be stress-free by the students. In relation to immediate recall protocol, that they have mentioned that they were able to use their own language and their own vocabulary in producing the protocol. So, and also they were able to freely take down notes in order to prepare for the protocol. Not only that, the marks were not deducted for poor language use, which also made them feel relaxed in doing the test. So what I tested there in the immediate recall protocol was whether they comprehend the text properly. Not only that, in blogging, presentations, vivas, teaching philosophy, and all were their own formats. They use their own creativity, free their ideas and their time in producing these their blogs and other texts. The second fact that I have identified is novel experience. We know that young learners like to explore new experiences. One major reason that they enjoy these alternative tests is their novelty. Actually, one student had said that it was the first time that he heard the term immediate recall protocol. So they haven't been exposed to such tests, and as a result, the students were enthusiastic as well as more inquisitive about the tests. Regarding the web blogging, even though they had seen blogs and they were familiar with blogs, they were extremely excited to create their own blog. Actually, the presentations, Viva, and such tests were not novel to them at all, though they enjoyed them. So, compared with the traditional examination where a strict supervision prevails with fixed answers, alternatives gave the learners the opportunity to work freely, utilizing their creativity. They decided what to write, what to present, and how to present without being influenced by the teachers according to their creativity. So, as mentioned in their comments, they enjoyed this freedom, and I was able to observe the creativity that came out in their answers. Even you can observe that if you compare their web blogs and the answers I showed in previous slides that they have given for traditional tests. All above mentioned facts induce their interest in the alternative tests. These two pie charts portray the students' perception on blogging against traditional exams. Uh, it was observable that they had similar interest in other methods, but they showed a special interest on blogs out of a sense of pride for publishing their own blog for the first time. So as shown earlier in their answer script, it is obvious that they have scored high marks. You can see them here for these tests compared with the marks gained for the written answers. The reason may be as stated above earlier, these like their interest, novelty of the experience, flexibility of the format, and their creativity and sense of relaxation they felt during the exam may be some of the reasons for them to get high marks for these tests. Most of the alternative tests cover a range of skills unlike the traditional tests. So these tests involve all four major language skills and as well as sub skills like problem solving, making inferences, drawing conclusions, communicative skills, presentation skills, time management, computer skills, planning skills, coordinating skills, organizing skills, and many more. So this you can see like alternative tests in comparison with traditional tests, uh, cover a range of skills of the students. So whatever the test we employ, we should the test should be acceptable and should have these characteristics as reliability, validity, authenticity, practicality, and washback. All these characteristics of a good test, as introduced by Bachman and Palmer, can be seen in these tests as well. Well-defined rubrics and making criteria making clear cut marking criteria can establish the reliability of the test. All the above tests had clear and transparent marking criteria. The tests were designed in a way to measure what was intended to measure in order to maintain validity. For example, as we all know, that immediate recall protocol was identified as a test with high validity to measure the reading skills of the students. We all know that these tasks, these all tasks are based on performance. They are related to real life situations of the students. We measured their true authentic performance in different situations through these tests, and also the tests were easily administered without having any practical issue. So I didn't experience any impracticality in administering these tests. The last point is washback. Washback is the negative or the positive impact or a test can have on the teaching and learning process. It was obvious that the students gained good marks and they were interested in the tests, and as a result their motivation increased. So automatically it influences positively on the learning process. On the other hand, the teacher could observe the strengths and the weaknesses of the learners, so that the teacher is able to take necessary measures in to correct their weaknesses and to help them in their process of development in the teaching process. Moving to the next topic, that is the shortcomings experienced and identified in implementing these alternative tests. These are some common problems given by the students and identified by me too. Poor internet connection was a common issue, not only for these, actually not that is common not only for these assessments, but also in many type of situations in my university as well as in my country. Due to the novelty of these tests, I had to explain them several times to my students. So more actually, like when it comes to blogs with regard, when it comes to blogs, actually I also have a poor technical knowledge on that, and thanks to Miss Jeevanti, our IT lecturer, for helping me and my students to create the web blog. As you know, unlike real-time exams, traditional tests of like these take long times to complete. So these are some common barriers, in a way common impediments encountered by my students when they are completing the tests. Now I have come to the end of my presentation. Let me wind up this presentation with with the conclusions. Considering all these facts that I have discussed so far, it is obvious that a lot of new learning has taken place in me as well as from my learner's side. This was a novel experience for me as well as for my students. I myself gained a good wealth of knowledge about the assessments in general. Actually, to be honest, earlier I had taken testing for granted. What I used to do is, in conducting test, was just setting questions for 2 hours, out of which 4 questions were expected to be answered by the students. However, pandemic that left us without an alternative just made us find alternatives, especially as teachers. So I thought of a way to measure the skills of my students along with the subject knowledge, both validly and feasibly, without giving them any chance to plagiarize. The MA in TESOL course I am following helped me a lot in this developmental process. After reading immensely about alternative assessment methods, I was able to successfully complete all the assessments that I had planned. For instance, actually, I had to gain a broad understanding on the immediate recall protocol. Being my class a multilingual one, I had to change the original procedure to adapt my context. Thus, I again proved that teaching is a lifelong learning. When I conducted these tests, I felt a strong sense of responsibility. Along with this developmental process, I understood that it should be our responsibility as well as we should have the ability to make the test interesting to the test takers. We cannot escape that responsibility by just making a test for the sake of doing it. I witnessed how my test takers and my students enjoyed the tests without being stressed out as in traditional exams, as they experienced in traditional exams. Seeing this, I myself was delighted for being able to play the true role of an assessor. That is one of my main responsibilities. Likewise, finally, I was much enlightened on testing, not only about alternative tests, but also about the whole process of testing. That is why I named my presentation as Being Enlightened on the Alternative Assessment, a day I felt that I am truly playing the role of assessor. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.